Good morning, afternoon, dear viewers, and welcome to Vaporum, a grid-based dungeon crawler RPG which avoids the more traditional fantasy setting for a very well-crafted steampunk one. I should start by making a note that I am a documented, tremendous fan of classic-style dungeon crawler RPGs, and I always make it a point of at least looking into any new titles that adhere to the genre. Despite the fact that I like to think I keep up with indie game news, especially in the RPG realm, since this is sort of my overarching theme on the channel, Vaporum just showed up in my email one day and I was instantly sold on the combination of dungeon crawler and steampunk, since I am quite the big fan of the latter as well. So let's see if Vaporum is worth your time and money or if it runs out of steam rather quickly. You start as an amnesiac protagonist, which granted is not the most original of setups, but the cool graphics, sounds and allure of steampunk mystery allowed me to skip over this little bit of tropism and thoroughly enjoy the game. From the visual standpoint, the game looks great. What I wish to point special attention to is that each level has its own unique design when it comes to the walls, and in dungeon crawlers, that's an important thing because you'll be seeing a lot of the walls while exploring the various levels and pacing around them almost endlessly to find the secrets. This is something that the guys that made Legend of Grimrock kinda skimped on. I remember that game reusing the same dungeon walls for 3 levels at a time, although that was a fair number of years ago and the almost human team was considerably smaller than the Fatbot Games team who made Vaporum. Anyway, I wanted to make sure I mentioned the fact that these guys spent the time and effort of individualizing each of their game's levels, and I truly appreciated it a lot. This also made it possible for them to hide the secrets that much easier, but more on that in the secret section of the review because of course I have a secret section, it's a dungeon crawler after all. Despite the fact that the game is a clear tribute to classics of the genre and very reminiscent of the earlier referenced Legend of Grimrock in terms of setup, it is not a party-based game. Instead, it pits your solo and temporarily amnesiac protagonist against a slew of puzzles, traps, and mechanical menaces. I say temporarily because after a couple of levels, through discovering in-game logs, your character remembers who he is, and as you trek through the Ark's Vaporum, the massive building you find yourself in, you also discover what happened in it for you to have started the game as an amnesiac and outside of the actual building. Also taking a more proactive approach as opposed to the classics, Vaporum's combat is real time. It's very similar to that of Legend of Grimrock. This means that you can do your best to avoid getting maximum damage by shifting around your enemies if the room you're in allows for it. You'll notice that most of the rooms populated with enemies have been designed in such a way so as to make maneuvering around your enemies quite difficult. For the majority of the game, these rooms or situations are quite annoying but in that challenging sort of way. And they don't fall into what I call cheap design until much later into the game. Vaporum offers you a choice between focusing on melee or ranged weapons in terms of sheer offensive possibilities. However, there is a third option which will allow you to improve your special skills, which can be buffs or AoE type offensive skills against your enemies. These skills are available to you via the exosuit that you're wearing throughout the game. It's a cool little addition to the game's steampunk aesthetic that works very nicely in the very technical minded setting, because this Ark's Vaporum, as you find out, was built to be a research facility. There are 3 choices of exosuits which can be divided into the 3 main roles that a character can play in an RPG. A tank, a damage dealer, and a healer or utilitarian role. You can further outfit your exosuit with all manner of add-ons that give you access to skills which are on a cooldown. However, that's not the only customization feature offered to the player. The game also has skill trees which are associated with the exosuits, not you directly. As such, when you level up or when you find special objects in the game, you get to customize how you can improve the functions of your exosuit. The options available focus on either fighting with melee weapons, ballistic ones, becoming able to take more damage, or a more capable skill user, that sort of thing. One cannot have a first-person dungeon crawler without also having a healthy amount of puzzles in it. And despite my earlier stance of hashtag fuck leper puzzles, Vaporum is not that sort of a game. There's the usual open doors in order to navigate a maze sort of puzzles, which usually have extra bonus material available if you put in the extra time. There's a very sneaky one involving books, a couple of very light teleportation puzzles, and the general there's a switch here that opens a door over there. Oh wait, that just opened a can of unexpected whoop-ass. In fact, the game actually does have an honest to goodness lever puzzle, where there's 5 levers, each with 3 positions, and you need the right combination in order to go forward. The main difference being that getting the combination is actually part of the quest. So they did it right. I got nothing to say except more of these types of lever puzzles and less of the rest because #fuck lever puzzles. The other gaming concept that goes hand in hand with first-person dungeon crawlers besides puzzles is secrets. Sometimes puzzles and secrets work together as well, but in the case of Vaporum, most of the secrets will be in the form of tiny little things around the world. An extra bolt here, an offset button there, all of them being super easy to miss and in some cases difficult to access, namely when they're combined with puzzles. Finding secrets is that much more complicated in Vaporum because, like I said earlier, each level has its own aesthetic, which means each level has its own type of secret thing, doohickey or doodad you have to look for. While I'm pretty sure you should be able to finish the game without any of the rewards from the secret areas, I do think that would seriously increase your frustration and amount of time you spend reloading combat encounters. The items that you'll find in the secret areas tend to come with a bunch of extra abilities besides increased damage when compared to the ordinary ones you'll be finding on your trek through this mystery, so they will help you get past combat encounters that much quicker. In case you don't have all the time in the world to dedicate to finding the secrets, yet you still enjoy the game enough to want that extra edge, I wholeheartedly suggest you head on over to the Steam forums and look up the locations for the secrets on each level. That's something I did as well for at least several of them. So if you remember back towards the beginning of my review, I mentioned something about cheap design of rooms, by which I mean rooms that are designed to be insanely difficult to navigate while engaged in combat and which lead you to taking way more damage than you would on average if the room wasn't cheap. This only happened to me relatively late in the game, I believe somewhere around level 8 or so, but it was enough for me to stop playing. I have only so much time available for gaming and getting hung up on what I consider to be cheap design is something of a deal breaker with me. I'm sure I would have gotten past it eventually, but my content producing schedule and rest of my life simply don't allow for that type of time sink. To be honest, I'd much rather sink my time into a 4X, city builder or RPG game, but you know, that's personal preference, it has very little bearing on the game. Vaporum is a super cool first person dungeon crawler, especially if you're looking for a break from the classic fantasy setting, which I definitely was. It's priced at €20 on Steam, or equivalent in your region, and it is quite worth it if you're into the genre, steampunk setting, and you want to squeeze the maximum amount of content possible out of it by hunting down all the secrets on your own. Let me know in the comments if Vaporum sounds like the type of game for you, and also tell me about some other dungeon crawler titles that I should have my eye on for the future.